Okay, what we got here is another Know Before You Go video. And what this gentleman is going to be talking about is the train system in France, particularly in Paris. Watch.
Je circule.
Bonjour à toutes et à tous. Bienvenue dans Parigo. Cette semaine, retour.
Oh, I should say, Dallas, Texas tried to be like Paris, and Chicago is like Paris, and other cities are like Paris. And what they have bikes that you can rent. So you go, and the bike is at a auto bike rack. You put a coin in, and you get the bike out. One Italian company went to Garland, Texas, opened up a nice little facility, and tried to rent bikes in Dallas, Texas. And what happened is that the accident rate soared. That so many people went to the emergency room from riding these bikes that physicians actually went down to the city and protested the bikes. You know, and then they had bikes and scooters, but the bikes and the scooters were so dangerous that and emergency room entrance just soared, because what happened was is that they didn't have a drug or a sobriety test on those bikes, and people were riding around on these things in altered states. And to say one more thing about the bikes, now in the city of Chicago I saw the same bikes, and it appears that in the city of Chicago that everything works well, and you know, and they've had their, you know, bikes, you know, their public bikes for 20 years, and it's worked fine. But people in Texas just couldn't handle it. And the last time I saw one of the bikes, the Italian company took all of the bikes off the streets. And I remember one of the young guys across the street, he had rented one of the bikes, and he was out there with a hacksaw or blowtorch or whatever it was, and he was cutting the GPS and the other apparati off the bike and moving on down the road with the bike. So the Italian company were every day they had to put more bikes into the fleet than they had in the fleet the day before. And the last time I saw one of the bikes is that the bike was at Playa de Bagdad. It was close to Playa de Bagdad in Matamoros, Mexico. I mean, stolen metro bikes from Dallas had gone that far. Okay, so Paris started the metro bike, and looks like their metro bike program has been going on for years and years and years, maybe for nearly 100 years, and they don't seem to have a lot of loss in their fleet as a result of theft. Okay, so here's their public transportation system.
Sur l'incroyable 4 à la suite réalisé au printemps dernier par la RATP et la SNCF. Tiens, mais qu'est-ce qui se passe là?
Nous vous avons donné 6 ans et des millions de dollars pour un résultat inexistant.
Tu n'as pas idée de ce qui va venir.
Votre structure biophysique est en pleine mutation. Vous allez percer le voyage transdimensionnel.
Ça va chauffer. Ce que vous avez créé ici est monumental.
Vous êtes prêts à kiffer maintenant?
Intrigante, cette bande-annonce, elle me rappelle celle d'une franchise bien connue. Pardon, hein, mais c'est vrai que le feu dans l'enceinte du métro, on va éviter. Mais j'ai dû être irradié lors de mon dernier voyage sur la 14, l'une des 4 lignes prolongées au printemps dernier, est censée nous doter, nous, voyageurs franciliens, de super pouvoirs comme celui de se déplacer à la vitesse de l'éclair entre Paris et Orly. Mais est-ce réellement le cas? Les prolongements des lignes 11, 14, T3B et RER E ont-ils tenu leurs promesses? C'est ce que je vous propose de voir avec moi aujourd'hui. Parmi ces 4 prolongements, celui de la 14 était sans doute le plus attendu. La ligne a littéralement doublé de longueur du jour au lendemain. Résultat, aujourd'hui, 800 000 voyageurs l'empruntent quotidiennement, malgré les travaux persistants à la fois en sous-sol et en surface. Reportage. Pour la RATP, ce printemps fut historique avec l'ajout de 20 nouvelles stations. 4 mois plus tard, quelles sont les plus fréquentées et à quand l'arrivée de rames supplémentaires pour 10...
Now, the point once again is if you don't know, don't go. And you may not know this, but you can all of the trains, and that's what I'll call it, all of the trains, and they're not going to call it a train in French because en train is the particle for continuation. Je mangerai en train. I am eating. Okay, so that means that they might not call a train, even though they do define a train as a train. But they may not call it that because of that particularity in their language. So looks like they call what would normally be called a train a tram system. Okay, that makes sense. And I always wondered about that. But here's the thing. You got to know before you go. You can go and look at Chicago. You can look at Chicago. Let's say that you're someplace near Chicago and you want to park your car someplace. You want to take the train to the airport. You want to fly to Paris. Or you want to however you want to get to the train station in Chicago. You get to the train station in Chicago, go straight to O'Hare. Okay. When you buy your train ticket in Chicago, you can also buy your train ticket in London, Paris. I think you can buy it, I'm not certain, but I think you also buy it in Mexico City. And so you're just going to buy the train ticket in Chicago. And let's say that it costs you like $2 to go from where you want to go into O'Hare. You come from a place and it costs you $2 to go to O'Hare, but you put $100 on the ticket, let's say. So you still have $98 on the electronic ticket. Okay, then you land in London. You can use the London public transit system on the same ticket that you bought in Chicago. Then you go across the channel. You use the same ticket that you bought in Chicago to use on the channel. You go from the channel, you go to Paris. You use the exact same ticket. And what this guy is saying, the French guy is saying on another he's saying on another video about his system, about the French system, is that you can use the ticket all the way across Europe to Moscow. Now, see, that's why you know before you go. And then you always have an alternative form of transportation. So you take your mountain bike, put it on the train in Chicago, put it in a box, fly it to London, take it out of the box, go to the channel, however you want to go there. If you want to go the sightseeing route, take the bike across the channel, in a box or however you're going. Maybe you're taking the train again, and then all of a sudden you hit Paris, and you got two forms of transportation. You got public transit because you got the train ticket, and additionally you got the bike. Just that simple. And there's a there's a friend of mine, he's supposed to give me a bike, so I don't know how good this bike is. I imagine that it's really good, but it's a $200 polycarbon bike. And if everything works out with the bike, what I'm gonna do is whenever I travel, I'm just gonna have AliExpress ship the bike to the place that I'm going to. Like I want to go to Tabachinga, and I want to go to Guyane in the French department in Brazil. So I want to go to these two places. If I take the bike on the airline, it's going to cost $200 to $300. If I just ship a bike there, if I ship a bike there or potentially buy a used bike there, I have the Chinese company ship a bike there to a bike seller. I call the bike seller on the phone, and bike sellers do this, and I say, hey, I'm going to have a bike shipped from China to your shop in my name. I'm going to pay you a fee for holding it for me. I'm going to come and pick it up. Now, of course, that means that I would have to be able to speak Portuguese in Tabachinga. Of course, that means that I would have to be able to speak French in Guyane with the bike shop in Guyane. If it is in Peru, Chile, Colombia, I'm going to have to be able to speak Spanish with the bike shop in those countries also. See how that works? That's why you got to know before you go. And today, there's so many resources that can allow you to know. And the way I knew that I could use the same ticket in Chicago and in Paris and all the way across Europe is because the last time I was in Chicago and I took the train, it was written on the ticket. Okay? A little bit more of this.
Et encore, les intervalles. Aux heures de pointe, réponse avec le porte-parole de la régie. Nous nous intéresserons ensuite au prolongement du RER-E, direction Nanterre. Voilà 4 mois qu'il est exploité à minima avec une simple navette circulant seulement aux heures creuses. C'est bientôt fini. Dès le 15 décembre, les 3 nouvelles stations seront enfin desservies normalement. Alors quel bilan tiré de tous ces prolongements? Les opérateurs ont-ils réellement tenu leurs engagements? C'est ce que nous verrons avec la principale association d'usagers d'Île-de-France. Souvenez-vous, c'était le 24 juin dernier, la ligne 14 déployait enfin ses ailes jusqu'à Saint-Denis, Pleyel, au nord et Orly, au sud. Alors quel bilan? 4 mois plus tard, voyez cette enquête de Gaël Darangos et Arthur Nice.
La station de Thiers est encore en travaux, mais ça ne dérange pas Romuald de Noël. Chaque jour, ce bénévole associatif passe par ici pour se rendre dans le nord de Paris.
Avant, on prenait le RER-C. Toutefois, quand on partait à la gare, par exemple à Saint-Michel, toutefois, c'était marqué sur le tableau que ligne supprimée et ça nous mettait beaucoup en difficulté.
Désormais, Romuald de Noël met 40 minutes pour rejoindre son association vers Pont-Cardinet. Avant, cela lui prenait plus d'1 heure.
Mais c'était un grand plaisir. Tout d'abord, à cause de la vitesse. Je dis bien, ça arrive vite et puis c'est tranquille, très tranquille.
Le 24 juin dernier, la RATP a ouvert le prolongement de la ligne 14 au nord à Saint-Denis-Pleyel et au sud jusqu'à l'aéroport d'Orly. Une ouverture à la va-vite afin d'être prêt pour les JO. 4 mois après, ce n'est toujours pas fini.
Vous voyez, vous avez des portes qui sont apparentes. Elles vont être sous ce qu'on appelle sous tenture, c'est-à-dire qu'on va les recouvrir pour que ce soit esthétiquement plus agréable. Voilà. On a également des reprises. Vous voyez bien, il y a des travaux de finition. C'est comme chez vous à la maison.
Des travaux en station, mais aussi sur les voies. Jusqu'à l'été prochain,
Now, the passenger that they had that was seated, he said that this system is fast and it's peaceful. And then they're showing the security system that they have, the cameras, things of that sort. So it looks like a marvelous and safe system. The only question that I would have is can I like buy a ticket on their system or on Chicago system or on New York system or on the system in Los Angeles or Mexico City? Can I buy a ticket on those systems and will it also work in Rio de Janeiro y también in Sao Paulo? So that's a question that I'll have to I'll have to find out the answer to, and when I find out the answer, I'll make another video about it. And that requires, well, here's how this thing goes. You know, every time I'm in a country, I see someone who has not prepared to come to that country. They just haven't prepared. And as I've said in previous videos, my first experience with seeing people who were unprepared was Korea. And this is a long time ago, and I remember at some point during the stay in Korea, a North Korean MiG flew over the city. I mean, everybody was terrified. You know, it was that sort of thing. And no one, let's say that the North Koreans actually at that time were on a bombing run. And in the location that I was at, there were casualties. But none of us knew any Korean. What would we be able to do? See, and that's what people don't really think of. They don't think of what do you do when there's emergency. Now, when there's an emergency, all of the lights go out. You got a limited amount of time on your cell phone, so you can't translate. And you're way back in you're way back in the Neolithic age. I mean, you're in the dark all over again, and that occurs all the time, frequently. So I see these same people when the lights go out, when the trains stop running, when you have to call an ambulance to get to the hospital, on and on and on and on. And the people who have not prepared themselves before they left, their lives just get turned upside down. They get frustrated, they're cussing, they're, being a bad guest, I mean, the lights go out, everybody's suffering. Everybody's trying to get to the hospital. I'm not the only guy that's trying to get to the hospital. I'm not the only guy that's trying to get fresh water. Or I'm not the only guy that's trying to find the bathroom. Everybody is trying to do the exact same thing. And at that time, patience is in order. But the person who has not prepared is the most impatient. Okay. So, know before you go. There are other videos by the same people. They're going to tell you how to use your smartphone when you have an electronic ticket, how to get past the turnstile, all of that sort of thing. Pretty standard procedure. They have that all the way across North America, that same exact system. You go, you download the app, buy the ticket, swipe your phone or swipe the card, and you're in. Okay.